I'm going to explain journal investigation. So the first is what they contain in journal investigations are journal title, author's name, research problem, theories employed, and result and discussion. So the first is journal title. The journal title is Teaching Oral Request, an evaluation of five English as a second language coursebook. And the authors are Ilani Petraki and Sarah Baez. And the research problem is the research question is to what extent is the current research on authentic requests reflected in 5% ESL intermediate level coursebook? So the next is theories employed. So there are two theories. There are speech act theories and theory of politeness. So we're going to first theories. So the first theory is speech act theory or SAT. Holds that speaking a language means executing speech actions such as making assertion, issuing instruction, asking question, making promises, and so on. The SAT framework has aided in a better understanding of requests as direct and indirect speech acts. Direct requests are basically imperative. For example, a direct request will be give me that pen, whereas an indirect request might be could I have a pen? So one of the most significant research initiative was the Cross-Cultural Speech App Realization Project or CCSARP, which investigates how native speakers of 8 different languages make requests and apologize, as well as how non-native speakers of those languages make requests. According to the CCSRP, there is substantial cross-cultural variance in the directness or indirectness of requests. For example, Australian English was identified as the least direct of the language investigated, such as English, German, French, Hebrew, and Spanish, with more than 80% of requests being typically indirect. It is also worth noting that AA speakers, regardless of context, use conventionally indirect forms. Request is American English, on the other hand, vary depending on social distance and contextual situation factors. Requests between relatives and friends, for example, are more straightforward than those between strangers. Evidence of pragmatic transfer from native speakers and native language or L1 while executing the speech act of a request in the target language or L2 is one of the most useful results in SAT research. According to the economy Dow Colgate cities, research on telephone service encounter British English native speakers employ significantly more indirect techniques when making requests than Greek native speakers. Thus, pragmatic transfer of requests from a native speaker L1 to English frequently leads in the speaker failing to communicate the right elocutionary elocutionary force, as well as rude requests and lost space. So the next theory is theory of politeness. According to Brown and Levinson's work, is credited with developing the notion of politeness. Requests jeopardy speakers face since they infringe on hearers' right to freedom of action and freedom from imposition. The term face refers to the public self-image that each member wishes to establish for himself. There are two types of phases. The first is negative phases, which represent an individual's right, privacy, and self-determination, and positive phase, which represent the public self-image that individuals create for themselves. So the danger of imposition on the hearer implies that the speaker must mitigate in order to construct a courteous request. The hearer must likewise mitigate if he or she denies a request. It has also been established that very indirect tactics do not always reflect politeness. According to research, negatively courteous, the indirect requests are regarded to the most polite in English, more so than of the record as or hints, which are more indirect but also non-conventional. In both American and British English, typically indirect tactics receive the greatest score of politeness rather than hints. According to Brown and Levinson, the most important effects on selecting the right request from are social distance, power, and the degree of imposition. The tone of a request is another essential aspect of politeness. According to the Bartels, intonation is a mechanism that the speaker employs to fine-tune his or her politeness approach. As a result, regardless of the form of the request, if the intonation of a request is non-conventional, the hearer may view the speaker as rude. According to the recent studies, native speakers and non-native speakers perceive requests differently. Non-native speakers, for example, are more sensitive to the grammatical form associated with requests and hence perceive more politeness distinction in the act of requesting than native speakers. Non-native speakers prefer more direct requests from than native speaker, whereas conventionalized indirect requests are so common that it's rare to hear a completely direct request even between equals. So the next part is discussion and result. So first we're going to discussion. So discussion of the research is, it is essential to note that the previous textbook study did not cover all of the potential benefits and drawback of each coursebook's teaching on request. The five criteria which were chosen based on a research using etiquette, conversation analysis, and speech act theory do not guarantee that a lesson will be effective. Instead, the five criteria were chosen so that an examination and assessment of how well a coursebook takes into account research data produced from some of the most important contributions of the three discussed theories could be carried out. So, the next is result. The result of this research is this study support the finding of earlier studies that show coursebooks are poor when compared to actual native speakers encounters. Reliance on unauthentic resources leads to sudden mistake, which leads to unpleasant situation with native speakers. These findings have far-reaching consequences for ESL and EFL instructors or teachers, as well as teacher educators and trainers. The preceding discussion showed that the efficacy of the coursebook lessons is totally contingent on the instructor knowledge and willingness to draw on the other research to teach pragmatic competence. So that's all my explanation, and thank you.